NBC's Janice Mackey-Freyer has a preview.
They can perform dance moves and show off roundhouse kicks, or maybe offer a ride. Robots, it seems, are everywhere in China, in all shapes, sizes, and speeds, with companies rolling out more powerful humanoid resources. This robot conference, a show of intense competition among startups here. And happening alongside it, the second annual Humanoid Games in Beijing, where nearly 700 teams are expected to compete for gold, more than double the size of last year's. It's all a sign of how seriously China is betting on robotics as the next industrial revolution.
These days, there's a lot of hype around this company, Unitree. That's one of the world's biggest makers of humanoids and robot dogs. The company has just started trading publicly on the Shanghai Stock Exchange, and shares popped 500% on day one.
Its latest model may explain why. A humanoid called Superman that can jump 6.5 feet and claims to sprint faster than world record holder Usain Bolt, although it crashed into a wall right after crossing the finish line. Still, it's leaps and bounds ahead of where sporting humanoids were last year, when we attended China's first ever robot games.
This event is being billed as the first of its kind.
Teams competing in soccer, track events, and tasks like moving luggage.
There are hundreds of robot companies here in China making machines that can do backflips or run faster than people, if that's what you want your robot to do. But a big focus here at the World Robot Conference in Beijing is on robots that can do tasks that are, well, mundane or boring even by human standards.
Daily grind jobs like folding laundry, picking up toys, or sorting packages in a warehouse. Practical work that humans might not mind giving up, or at least that's the way robot developers here see the future.
We don't want to replace person. We want people to have a better job, to have a better life.
The challenge here is turning eye-catching kicks and moves into actual productivity, then scaling it commercially. Low-cost manufacturing here has allowed China's industry to pull ahead. Hefty government subsidies have helped out too. Robots are not without some glitches that come with real questions about safety. Remember when this one kicked a child? This year, there are no robots made in the United States, and none of what's on display here in China will be finding its way to the U.S. anytime soon. The Trump administration banning imports of new foreign-made quadruped and humanoid robots, citing national security and privacy concerns, a move that heavily targets China, which, according to consulting firm IDC, accounts for 82% of the world's humanoid shipments.
There are risks to the approach that the U.S. is taking, but I think their heart's in the right place. They want to build this supply chain, they want to reshore manufacturing, and most importantly, they are worried about national security risks.
After the recent ban, IDC estimates humanoid sales by U.S. companies could drop 58% by 2030 under a worst-case scenario. We reached out to the White House for comment and haven't heard back. FCC Chair Brendan Carr telling NBC News when the regulation was announced.
But one of the upsides of these actions is not just national security, but it is helping to reindustrialize this country.
China's leadership has made robotics a national priority. As the U.S. moves to restrict technology, China is already putting the machines to work. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
Quite a glimpse of the future there. Janice Mackey-Freyer, thank you so much. And finally tonight, we are getting an inside look into preparations for Artemis 3. The mission is set to launch in 2027 still. That is a crucial step in NASA's plan to put humans back on the moon. And NBC's Ryan Nobles spoke to one of the astronauts of the crew.
Mission Specialist, Colonel Frank Rubio.
Since officially joining Artemis 3, NASA astronaut Frank Rubio and his fellow crew members have been thrust into high gear as they prepare for a critical mission, meeting up and docking with commercially built lunar landing systems.
Landing humans on the moon is still incredibly difficult. Each time we do one of these missions, we test another component of the overall concept.
During their 2-week mission, the Artemis 3 crew will soar in an Orion capsule, first to an altitude of about 900 miles above Earth's surface, before dropping to half that distance for the first test. and completing the second one around the same orbit level as the International Space Station.
How much work goes into that preparation to make sure you get it right when you're up there?
Thousands of people working, thousands of hours doing all those calculations. Honestly, it's not just us. Our main role is to be there, monitor, and if things go wrong, to be able to adapt and help still make the mission a success.
SpaceX and Blue Origin are the companies building the lunar landing systems. And while both have experienced setbacks this year, NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman says he's been in touch with their teams and does not expect to change the Artemis 3 timeline.
I'm extremely confident that we are going to be able to launch Artemis 3 next year.
With plans to return humans to the moon as early as 2028, NASA needs this next test to go well as it faces a new space race, this time with China, also aiming to land its astronauts on the lunar surface by 2030. Even for Rubio, who once spent more than a year in space, going into orbit remains a thrill.
It's always something that we dream of as kids, is to get on a rocket and go to space. And so to be able to do that as part of my job is fantastic.
He's joining Commander Randy Bresnik, pilot Luca Parmitano of Italy, and fellow mission specialist Andre Douglas, a backup for the last Artemis mission that took its crew around the moon.
We just went sci-fi.
And deeper into space than any other humans. Rubio, who has Salvadorian roots, says he hopes they can inspire a new generation.
What is your message to young Latinos that see you and see themselves in you?
I hope that they can see in me an example of the fact that with hard work, dedication, and all the people around, it has been an incredible honor to represent all of that.
Ryan Nobles, thanks. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now. All right, what up, chat? How's it going? Would I go to space if invited? I would go to space if uninvited. I would go to space if I knew where they kept the luggage to go to space. I would absolutely, 1,000%, hopefully in my lifetime, maybe I will be going to space. Are they not worried the moon can explode? No. I don't think they're worried that the moon is going to explode, Adson. The moon is a very large celestial body that has no sign of an explosive core. So I don't think it's going to happen. But who knows? Max Columbus, how's it going? It's going great over here. I got your email. So yeah, let's figure out dates and stuff. Hi. The moon is not made of cheese. Unless you're talking about string theory, then maybe. Quentin Tarantino, a movie about casting out demons. Sounds about right. Monkey Beast 2028, that would be fantastic. I don't know if we're going to get there, though. We still have a lot of tech to get through to get people up there in a big way. The room has their orders ready. Now, that's cool. McDonald's watching right now. Icon's only 99. Are you at McDonald's? What are you eating? Is it? Please tell me it's McNuggets. Watching from Poland, that's even further than McDonald's. We are going to the moon next year. Technically, they're not going to the moon. They're not even going to do what Artemis 2 did. Artemis 2 went all the way around the moon. Artemis 3 is going to go up, and they're going to see what the interface is like between the different capsules and the different launch vehicles. So like you got SLS that's going to go up, but they want to see what the landers look like when they interface and how those landers do in space, because they've never tried those out. Brand new landers from both Blue Origin and SpaceX, so that should be fun. Do you like doing pre-tapes first? I'm not gonna lie, I do like doing the E-block, which is what you guys just saw. That's the future of everything. I like doing that first because, well, you know that comes at the end of the show. But wouldn't it be great to live in a world where the good news comes before all the bad news? That would be right. That would be amazing. Well, guess what? We kind of do it here, in a way. Watching from Belize? Oh my gosh, United Game Studio? That's awesome, Belize. I was born in Guatemala. Chapin. No, let's see. God, you could be the first journalist to report from the moon. That would be amazing. I need some better skills, though. Journalism is a wonderful contribution, but I would feel like such a dunce up there with all those scientists that are like doing math and, you know, actual good scientific experimentation. And I'm like, well, I'll press record. Don't worry, guys. Audio sounds great. You would need smart glasses. That would be cool. E-block. This is behind the scenes. The in was pre-recorded. It has to stay at the beginning. Chat allows Scotty and the team to talk during the breaks. That's right, Max. Thanks for explaining it. Thanks. Also, oh, nice. The window has been updated, and the chat is going to see this. I don't like showing this, but I am extremely shiny today. So, I'm going to find this stuff, and then I got to get ready with me. Hi, get ready with me as I put a bunch of powder on my face so I don't shine. Put it on my 5 head, my 6 head over here. Boom. All right, there we go. I think that's better. Now let's see if I'm still as shiny. Green room cat. Yeah, now you guys know we're really friends. When I do tours, I don't take people in there. Let's see, window 11. Okay. And there is Gary. Here we go. That looks great. 2.5. We're going to start it over there. We teleported into an office. Hey, spaceship. And now we have teleported back into the studio. Let's see. How do you listen to IFB and talk at the same time? Good question. I have no idea. It's hard. I'm listening to Monica right now. And green room. Adson. Yeah, Adson. Yep, go for it. Sure, let's do it. All right, you guys want to see what it looks like at the top of the show? We're going to rehearse this, make sure we got the walls right. So you guys stay right there. Don't distract me. And let's see if we can nail this.
Great.
And then Gary's going to be over here.
Gary, yeah.
Got it. But I'll end up at 1.
You'll come right here.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And switch from Ronan to 1. Okay.
Perfect.
Cool. All right, let's try this out.
Here we go. 7.
Hey there, I'm Gotti Schwartz, and tonight we start with a major turn in a federal investigation into former Congressman Eric Swalwell. The FBI confronting him at an airport, then taking his electronic devices, then after that, raiding his Washington, D.C. home. Now, this all went down over the weekend. Sources familiar with what happened say Swalwell was stopped by the FBI at the San Francisco airport when the FBI pulled up with that search warrant. 24 hours later, they searched his home across the coast in D.C. Now, remember, Swalwell served in Congress for 13 years. He was the front runner as the Democratic nominee for California governor earlier this year, but allegations of sexual assault and rape by a number of women surfaced, forcing him to drop out and resign. He still denies all those accusations. Let's bring in NBC News legal affairs correspondent Gary Grumbach. Gary, so walk us what we know so far. Cool, that works. Okay, all right, and then Gary will kick it off right there. That was a rehearsal for the top of the show. And then that's going to be our lead story. And then we are going to get into some geopolitics. We're going to be getting into, oh, we got a good one. We got a really good one coming up today. It's about selling your data, just cutting out the middleman. You know how, oh, let me hit this real fast. Bump, bump. 10 seconds. You'll have to wait. It's going to be a good, it's going to be a great story. So stay tuned for the C block. All right, have a good show, everybody. Hey there, I'm Gotti Schwartz, and tonight we start with a major turn in a federal investigation into former Congressman Eric Swalwell. The FBI confronting him at an airport, then taking his electronic devices, and after that, raiding his Washington, D.C. home. Now, this all went down over the weekend. Sources familiar with what happened say Swalwell was stopped by the FBI over at the San Francisco airport when the FBI pulled up there with the search warrant. Then 24 hours after that, they searched his home across the coast in Washington, D.C. Now, remember, Swalwell served in Congress for 13 years. He was the front runner as the Democratic nominee for California governor earlier this year. But then those allegations of sexual assault and rape by a number of women surfaced, forcing him to drop out and resign. He is still denying all of those accusations. Let's bring in NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach. Gary, can you walk us through what we know about this so far?
So this is all part of an ongoing federal investigation into those sexual misconduct allegations. And we know the reasoning that they got the search warrant was for something called a federal statute called deprivation of rights under the color of law. Essentially what that means is it means somebody in a position of power did something criminally to someone else. Now that's incredibly broad, and we don't know exactly what it was they were looking for on that phone or in Eric Swalwell's Washington, D.C. home. But we do know how this all began. And it began with a former staffer going to the San Francisco Chronicle and going to CNN and saying that they were sexually assaulted by Swalwell twice when they were too intoxicated to consent. That led him to drop out of the race for governor. It led him to resign from Congress. And we know that the House Ethics Committee was investigating these allegations, but this federal investigation certainly takes things to another level here, Gotti.
Yeah, and are we positive that this federal investigation is related to that?
So there are three different tracks here. There is an investigation happening in New York City, an investigation happening in Los Angeles, and now there is this federal investigation happening with the FBI taking the phone and searching the home of Eric Swalwell here in Washington, D.C. But to get that search warrant in the first place, they needed probable cause, which means they needed to believe that a crime had committed and that it had been committed, and that Eric Swalwell's phone and Eric Swalwell's laptop and his house here in Washington, D.C. could lead them to more information to help with this investigation. We do have a statement from one of the victims of Eric Swalwell, the attorney from one of those victims, who said, although Ms. Drewis has not yet spoken with the FBI, we're encouraged to learn about the escalation into their apparent investigation, and they say they're going to cooperate fully with this investigation as it continues. Gotti?
Interesting. And what's Swalwell saying?
So Swalwell right now is not saying anything. He has vigorously denied the allegations against the women who said that he was sexually assaulted. He sexually assaulted them. He has vigorously denied those allegations, but he's not said anything about this FBI search.
Gary Grumbach, thank you so much, Gary, with the very latest on this investigation.
Meanwhile, President Trump is out with a new threat against Iran, announcing the most
crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. This will be an economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale. No word yet on what that could look like, but he also warned any country that helps Tehran would find itself facing tremendous economic consequences, something that the Treasury Secretary echoed a little later today.
Economic pressure means that we are going to all of our allies, and this is going to be the greatest coordinated economic isolation in the history of the world, and we are going to them and saying you are either with us or against us.
Joining us now is NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba. Monica, good to see you. What could the most crushing economic operation look like, and what kind of economic weapons do we have left here?
Yeah, it's a great question, Gotti, because we have seen rounds and rounds of sanctions pressure on Iran that hasn't really yielded the results that the U.S. is looking for here. And we've also seen a lot of this kind of rhetoric. You had Operation Economic Fury was one of the things that you heard a lot from Secretary Bessent in recent weeks. Again, trying to really kind of put a stranglehold economically on Iran. That is how they view it. But we did hear a little bit more on what that might mean for the administration from Vice President Vance earlier.
We're kind of now in a new phase where the most effective tool that we have is the economic pressure that we can apply to them. Their nuclear facilities are destroyed, but the question is, do they try to rebuild them? And so fundamentally what we're trying to do is create a changed reality on the ground where not just we can say with confidence their facilities have been destroyed, but we can also say with confidence they're never going to try to rebuild. And that's the phase that we're in now.
So this is sort of the strategy that they're employing, Gotti, when we know that diplomatic negotiations for now have been taken off the table. The president said that he basically didn't see any use in those, so he stopped them, and it's unclear if and when he may restart them.
The president's also warning other nations that they better cooperate with us, possibly including China. Set the scene for us on the world stage, right, from China to South Korea. Who could get twisted up in this and how?
Yeah, and that is sort of what Secretary Bessent was kind of teasing, right? Saying that he feels that the way they're going to announce this as economic D-Day against Iran is by getting allies to kind of play ball here. They are saying that they want to get commitments from some of those countries and other partners in the region, in the Middle East as well. And it all comes as the president has had these really harsh words recently for Oman, which has been trying to negotiate its own deal with Tehran directly, which the U.S. has been highly critical of. And this week, even the president said he would threaten to bomb Oman if they go through and do that, an important U.S. ally. So you are seeing that kind of pressure as the president and the administration are talking about some of the other countries who could be key players in all of this, Scotty.
Monica, this one's interesting because, you know, in the past, you've seen economic pressure and then the threat of like kinetic pressure, strikes. In this case, we're seeing strikes and now the threat of economic pressure. Are strikes still a big part of this? Are those still on the table?
They're still on the table, and this is a situation where it feels like the president has been trying a lot of different approaches to see what might actually create some meaningful momentum or movement. And there was a phase where there were obviously a lot of different strikes that resumed even after that memorandum of understanding that also fell apart after that signing at Versailles. And remember, that was supposed to kick off a 60-day period that just ended where there was supposed to be a more final agreement. And obviously, again, they are basically starting at scratch again on that front. So the president saying he could resume military strikes, but right now they are trying the economic approach as the first and the most main one.
Monica Alba at the White House. Monica, thank you. And now to that deadly crash between a helicopter and a small plane in Pennsylvania. We are now getting video that shows a moment when a state police helicopter just hovering over the ground right there. Look at that small plane smashing directly into it. It killed the pilot of that plane. Remarkably, though, the passengers on the helicopter, the pilot and one passenger survived. NTSB is now on that scene, and they are revealing new details about the crash. NBC's Aaron McLaughlin has the latest.
Tonight's stunning new video shows the moment a small plane crashed into a state police helicopter, killing the plane's pilot and injuring 2 Pennsylvania state troopers. In the video, you see the helicopter hovering feet above the ground near the runway. The Cessna 150 suddenly veers to the right, slamming into the chopper from behind.
The helicopter is to be smoking.
Images from the scene show the plane shattered to pieces, the helicopter on its side.
I have no information at all to tell me either pilot of either vehicle was at fault. We are very early in the investigation to determine that.
Officials say Corporal Bryce Corman and Trooper Jason Mills were initially trapped inside the chopper, but made a harrowing escape.
The corporal was in a position to push out a window and assist the trooper who he believed had some more serious injuries, and got both of them out of the helicopter.
It happened at the Carlisle Regional Airport just before 7 p.m. on Wednesday. State police say the troopers were out on a routine training exercise as the Cessna attempted to land on the adjacent runway. The pilot of the Cessna, identified as 57-year-old Paul Sokolowski, was killed in the crash. Tonight, officials say they still do not know why the Cessna missed the runway. The NTSB is investigating.
Aaron McLaughlin, thank you. And turning now to the very latest with the investigation into Hayden Panettiere's death. The source confirms to NBC that DEA agents have been assigned to that case. And now her on-again, off-again boyfriend, who was at the scene when police showed up, he's speaking out for the first time through his lawyer, saying Hayden's death remains under investigation, and it is important to allow that investigation to proceed. As has been publicly reported, police confirmed that there were no signs of foul play. Let's go to NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson. Steve, you know, pretty expected statement from the lawyer there.
Sure.
But what does it say about the investigation that we now know that the DEA is involved?
Well, so a couple of things that it doesn't say. It doesn't mean automatically there's any criminal involvement whatsoever. It simply means, according to the DEA agent I spoke to, and we'll get to him in a second, former DEA agent, that essentially they are assisting with the investigation, that there are materials that would be much tougher for a local law enforcement organization to deal with. And then when you bring in the resources of the federal government, things become a whole lot clearer. So they're looking at things like if there were any drugs that led to that overdose, caused by that cardiac arrest, they'd be able to trace those, they'd be able to take those drugs, they'd be able to test them, and they're looking for a few things, right? The pipelines. If they're prescription drugs, they can talk to the doctors who prescribe them. Matthew Perry's a great example. Why did you prescribe these drugs? Why did you do it this many times instead of that many times? That's a line of questioning. Also, illegal illicit drugs, of course, if there's like fentanyl that they found in this medicine bag that was apparently on scene, then they would trace that back to where she got it. Again, that doesn't mean there's anything criminal, but I spoke to the guy, the DEA agent who was the person in charge in LA for Matthew Perry, for Mac Miller, for Michael Jackson. Here's what he said about why he thinks they're involved at this point. I want you to hear this. Listen to this. Why involve the DEA at this point?
Yeah. The DEA would get involved at this point primarily to look at the prescription drug side, right? We don't know enough about the illicit drug side yet, and DEA can help with that when we get to that point. But right now, if there was a bag of pills with prescriptions, the DEA has information on all those doctors. Local law enforcement does not really have the expertise and the ability to do that the way that DEA does.
Yeah, interesting. And again, though, they're waiting for a full autopsy. They're waiting for the toxicology. Again, about 6 to 10 weeks before they get that back. Then they can determine cause of death. Then they would decide if there's any sort of what we call a criminal nexus leading to a criminal investigation. Until then, they are just helping out with that.
Meanwhile, we know that investigators, police, they've been talking to a lot of people. We know that they visited the ex-boyfriend's home. Anything else on that front?
You know, I mean, like you mentioned coming into this, he spoke out for the first time since this weekend. Obviously, there's been a lot of attention on him, their relationship. I think they met in 2018. You know, they've been sort of on and off again, on again, as you mentioned before. And part of that was this domestic violence charge in 2021, where he had to spend 13 days in jail, 4 years probation. It sounded pretty awful. And she spoke about that in her memoir. She's very candid about their relationship, about dealing with physical abuse. But as far as this case, you know, again, they're looking into everything, you would imagine. We haven't heard anything specifically about him when it comes to the investigation.
Meanwhile, in this case, there have been so many headlines today about Neutrogena, too. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, Neutrogena was repping her for 10 years or so. Like, she was one of the faces of their company. And then, so, you know, almost, I think, 10 years into that relationship, she came out and said, I have postpartum. I have postpartum depression. Here's why it's important for people to hear that. And in her mind and in her book, she wrote, essentially, as soon as she did that, they got rid of her. They dropped her from the company. They argued that the contract expired. They simply didn't renew her, but they've acknowledged that they should have taken more care of her. You know, she said, obviously, that they let her go and she got fired. There's just been a firestorm online. As you can imagine, downvoting, you know, there's a call to boycott. There's rumors that the stock of the company that owns Neutrogena, they're dropping as well. So there's a lot coming out, and that's why they finally put out a statement to say, hey, our bad, you know, and we feel bad about this, but, you know, we support the family. So it's tough. Yeah. You see it there. There's a statement. That better said in that statement than what I described. But yeah.
We got the gist of it. Yeah, Steve, thank you so very much. And tonight, millions of people across the Northeast are facing torrential rain and the threat of dangerous flash flooding. You can see it coming down pretty hard right here. Streets already starting to flood. Parts of Maryland are now under tornado watch. And this is the same powerful system that battered parts of the Midwest earlier this week, like out in Ohio, where torrential rain left cars submerged and roads completely underwater. NBC's Angie Lassman has more.
Tonight, tens of millions across the Northeast anxiously watching the skies. Dangerous storms now on the move. This funnel cloud spotted west of Baltimore. And west of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, this building torn apart in the storm's wake. Tornado warnings in Atlantic County, New Jersey.
You should be in an interior bathroom, closet. Bring a pillow, bring a blanket, cover yourself. You should be in a basement if you have it.
This time lapse showing the system rolling into Manhattan.
The heavy rain just picking up here in New York as the National Weather Service issues a flash flood warning for the area, with the heaviest of the rain still on the way.
The storm's delaying multiple games at the Little League Baseball World Series tournament in Pennsylvania. In Ohio, floodwaters overtaking roadways outside Columbus, stranding vehicles. Some neighborhoods like this one completely underwater. more than 4 inches of rain falling in some areas. Outside Chicago, crews in northwest Indiana racing to restore power to more than 60,000 still in the dark, more than a week after severe weather tore through there. And in southeast Alabama, watch as powerful winds from a rogue thunderstorm blow out the windows of this home.
Angie Lassman, thank you so much. In a controversial case out in Texas that ended with a 17-year-old convicted of murder, well, it might not be over. We now know the judge who presided over the trial of that track star named Carmelo Anthony has been removed, and Anthony's lawyers are now pushing for a retrial. Ryan Chandler was in Texas today and has more.
Well, Gotti, we've seen firsthand here at the Collin County Courthouse just how inflammatory this case has been. It has roiled North Texas and ignited a nationwide debate. But we're learning today that the most inflammatory details were purposefully omitted from the trial. But now, as Carmelo Anthony now asks the judge to give him a brand new trial, we're learning some of the most concerning details. It's a look into Anthony's mental state, prosecutors say. They say that his girlfriend, on the morning of the stabbing, went to the school and told the assistant principal that Anthony was stalking her. Prosecutors trying to portray him as a man that was spiraling and volatile, somebody who fantasized about stabbing someone and, quote, licking the blood off the blade, prosecutors say, according to a text message that was found on Anthony's phone. They bring that up to establish a mental state that may have influenced the stabbing that Anthony later admitted to. Now, the defense is also trying their best to portray the victim, Austin Metcalf, as no model citizen either. They bring up evidence that, frankly, portrays him as a racist bully, someone who is known for using racial epithets and cursing out teachers, getting suspended from school. In fact, he was served 12 months of probation for racist graffiti, including calls to kill black people that use the N-word, other anti-Semitic tropes. Why is this only coming out now? Well, it is so hard to hear, and both the prosecution and the defense recognize that, and they wanted to keep the temperature low. In an already inflammatory trial, they said, we're not going to litigate the morality of these young men. We don't care about their pasts. We only want to focus on those seconds that happened inside that tent at that track meet. But now, will it all come out if a new trial is indeed granted? It is seeming likely, Gotti, as we still wait for a final ruling on that from the judge here in Collin County. Gotti.
Ryan Chandler, thank you. And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, the man seen chasing women in that Chucky mask in Philadelphia. Well, he has been unmasked. The latest on the police work to try to track him down. Plus, the next time you click accept terms and conditions, you could maybe earn some dollars direct to you for giving away your data. How a new company is working to try to help people put a price on their personal data a little bit later this hour. And also, if you see this QR code, feel free to scan through. You can chat with us live. Let us know your thoughts. That'll take you behind the scenes, streaming on YouTube, TikTok, or Twitch.
Clear, 2 minutes.
Clear, 2 minutes. Okay, we got 2 minutes. It's our planet. We can't be blamed too hard. Spaceship. Yeah. Well, unless we're up to no good. Which, you know, we don't have a great track record. Collectively. Jojo shared the stream. Thanks so much, Jojo. Watch it on TikTok. Nice. Who was in the mask? Ooh, Kim, you're about to find out. But if you want a little sneak peek, I can tell you.
90.
90. Let me see. I can get his name real fast. Let me find it. 90 seconds. I have 90 seconds to find you that name. His name is. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Nope, not. I don't know. Where is it? It's very hard to find stuff here. I thought it was in headlines. North Korea, FBI, people in Pasadena. That's the Peacock. I don't see it, guys. Okay, I'll come back to that in just a second. Sorry. But yeah, the Chucky guy, oh, here, I found it. Emily Akita's got it. He was a guy that was chasing people around in Philly. So we're going to have that in right about 2023, 40-ish. So stay tuned for just a little bit longer. I don't know if they caught him, though. I think he's still on the run. SML. I like that new corner a lot. It's very, very fun. Remember all the big manhunts? That'll keep you on your hinges. Yes, that's very, very true. The new corner of the set, I give it a solid 8 or 9. Let's see, what's going on? Can we actually start doing something for global warming? Some people are, and some people are not.
5,
Here we go.
4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some other headlines we are watching tonight. Russia pounded Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, with missiles and drones last night, killing at least 16 people, according to Ukrainian officials. Russia has intensified its ballistic missile attacks on Kyiv as Ukraine faces a shortage of U.S.-made Patriot air defense interceptors. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has pleaded for countries to send more interceptors, but international stockpiles are low amid the Iran war. And North Korea fired several short-range ballistic missiles toward the sea hours after President Trump said he would meet again with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un later this year. Officials in Seoul say North Korea now has between 80 and 120 nuclear warheads. And the FBI arrested a woman they allege was plotting to attack the New York State Capitol building in Albany. The 35-year-old named Jessica Bowie allegedly pledged allegiance to ISIS online and started plotting that attack in Albany in July. She allegedly brought bomb materials from hardware stores, plotted with informants for 2 weeks. Cole Thomas Allen, the man accused of trying to assassinate President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, appeared in court for a status hearing. Allen has pleaded not guilty. He remains held without bond in federal custody. The judge still has not set a date for the trial. And people in Pasadena, California are mad after a mail carrier was caught on video attacking a peacock with a rock before using a stick to hit it. The bird's name is Sugar. Sugar has a reputation for sometimes being aggressive, but after the attack, Sugar flopped around before collapsing. The Pasadena Humane Society, though, says Sugar is expected to be okay. And do you remember that guy running around looking like Chucky in that mask, chasing people in Philly? Well, police have finally identified the suspect, but they still haven't tracked him down. NBC's Emily Akeda has the latest.
Tonight, new video of the masked man accused of harassing and antagonizing pedestrians in Philadelphia. You can see him lurking in this Dunkin' Donuts. Officials today identifying the suspect, who wore a chilling Halloween-style mask, as 22-year-old Zymir Hughes, and asking for the public's help. They warn he may have fled Pennsylvania 2 nights ago and note that he has ties to California and Nevada.
You think it's funny to scare people? Well, get ready to get scared by us.
Hughes, on probation for another crime, is now wanted for assault and other charges for allegedly chasing at least 15 people near City Hall, asking this jogger repeatedly, "Are you ready to die?" according to police, before continuing inside a train station where he evaded officers. Investigators believe he recorded himself along the way and was doing this, quote, purely for social media content. Emily Ikeda, NBC News.
Emily, thank you. And now, you know that mess that happened in Boyle Heights with that huge fire that led to that stink that we've been reporting on for quite some time? Well, tonight we are learning that Lineage will miss another cleanup deadline imposed by the city of Los Angeles, which was supposed to be today. Lineage is the company operating the warehouse here in L.A. that burned to the ground, that left some 85 million pounds of food in the warehouse to rot. This comes as a new report finds health issues from that fire are, quote, directly related to toxic exposure and smoke inhalation. We're talking about things like respiratory infections, irritated eyes, or persistent cough. The data comes from patients seen between June 17th, when that fire broke out, and July 31st. Remember, that fire burned for more than a week at a frozen food storage facility, sending those huge clouds of smoke that you're seeing right there into nearby neighborhoods for days. Neighbors say the stench from the rotting food lingered for weeks. It brought with it swarms of flies and rodents, and eventually leading to a state of emergency. So we'll see when it's completely cleaned up. It does not look like today. And in an age of AI, child predators have a whole new set of tools at their fingertips, and schools are trying to take some steps to keep kids safe. In California, some schools are using new technology to track when their staff use school devices to see or generate explicit photos of kids. NBC's Dana Griffin shows us how it's supposed to work.
It's a problem hiding in plain sight. Child sexual abuse material downloaded and viewed by school staff on district-issued devices.
You would think that someone would not choose to do that on a school laptop.
Lucky for us, the bad guys aren't always really smart.
Cybersecurity expert Steve Hummel has spent more than 4 decades investigating abuse and staff misconduct in schools. That experience led him to create NetPropriate, scanning software that identifies hidden digital behavior on school computers that traditional web filters can miss.
How instrumental have you guys been to these school districts?
So far in the last 8 months, we've discovered inappropriate content on 35 staff or faculty computers.
Hummel's program is now being tested in 12 California districts using hash matching, a process comparing unique digital fingerprints to decipher whether material may be inappropriate.
So you're not going in and looking specifically at every single photo and video on the laptop. You're looking at strictly metadata.
In fact, we designed this with confidentiality at the core. If it's a match, that's when the school can, through HR, initiate their investigation.
Child sexual abuse material, or CSAM, has been declared a global public health crisis by child protection organization Thorn.
It's about finding a needle in a haystack.
CEO Julie Corderwa says Thorn partners with web hosting companies in more than 40 countries to remove content online, sharing evidence with over 1,000 law enforcement agencies.
We have seen a case where a teacher was using AI to create synthetically generated child sexual abuse material.
These companies also want to make it clear teachers have played a huge role in providing safe spaces for children who have been harmed, especially with the use of AI.
What we've seen in the last 2 years, a really dramatic rise in synthetically generated child sexual abuse material.
The technology has led to moments like this.
Los Angeles Police Department, we have a search warrant. Everyone inside, come out with your hands up.
We were there when investigators from LAPD and Homeland Security, who asked us to conceal their identities to protect future undercover assignments, served a search warrant after receiving a tip from OpenAI that a user had uploaded sexual images of a girl believed to be as young as 5, trying to generate new AI content. Officers seized several cell phones and tablets, but their analysis determined the images did not come from the homeowner.
And we found through the interviews that a business associate may have been responsible for uploading CSAM to his account.
Not the guy.
Not this guy, no.
Last year, more than 60 million files depicting child sexual exploitation were shared online, including TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. These growing tech companies want to stop the behavior online in the hopes of preventing further harm.
What would you say to faculty members out there who are doing inappropriate things on their computer?
We're coming. We're going to find it.
Dana Griffin, NBC News.
Let's hope they do. Dana Griffin, thank you so much. And coming up, how your gut health could impact your risk of Alzheimer's. Dr. Akshay Sayal is going to join us to break down this new study. Stay tuned. All right, 3 minutes. Cool. We got 3 minutes to chat, everybody. 3 minutes, 29. And is Akshay in the studio? Or is he remote? He's remote, right?
Oh, remote.
Darn it. Akshay is one of my close friends. Let's see. And he ramps through the car through the intersection. Antoinette, thanks so much for the heads up. We'll take a look at that, see what we can find. Elder Jin, and you say that on TikTok, and I hear what you're saying. I do. Interesting. Can you guys hear me now? Man, I was on mute. Icons only, thanks so much. It's not too blue. Feels pretty blue to me, but you know what? Got to switch it up once in a while, right? 7 and 10. 7 and 10, spaceship. What are you talking about?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, 2 minutes. All right, Antoinette, we're going to look into that video. Belle, thank you so much. Okay, this blue shirt, I'll have to wear it. I wish I just had, to be honest, the hardest thing to do is to figure out what to wear. I wish it was just like Monday this color, Tuesday this color, Wednesday this color, Thursday this color, Friday this color, and then I don't ever have to think about it again. I'm not a style icon. you know, the studio's a little cold, so kind of like these stretchy blazers. But, I usually wear shorts into the office, flip-flops. So this is somewhat of a step up. SML? Aw, thanks. Okay. Lilo, for you. I don't know if you've commented a lot before. Lilo, welcome. Welcome to the club. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoy what you're seeing, because we work really, really hard to put this together every single day. Let's see. What should I call you? Lala Bubbles? Heart emoji? I will not overthink that name. How about that? Can I call you Lala? I think I'm going to call you Lala. Elder Gen X. What is an Elder Gen X? I'm an Elder Millennial. 83 is pretty elder. Stefan, you stop. What is a typical? When does a typical day look like for you? I'll tell you in just a second. All right, here we go.
5, 4, 3.
And here out west, an important news story. Another critical reservoir is hitting a historic low. Lake Powell, the second largest reservoir in the country, has fallen more than 20 feet this year. It's now dropping to a record low. The reservoir is now only about a quarter full. And you can see the change from the satellite. Look at this. Satellite images showing Lake Powell more than 2 decades ago compared to what it is today over there on the right side of your screen. It comes after years of drought, rising temperatures, shrinking snowpack, heavy water use. And just last week, we told you about how Lake Mead, they were also seeing record lows, falling to around 1,000 feet. Well, together, those two reservoirs, those supply more than 40 million people across 7 states with that life-supporting water. And now, with both reservoirs continuing to fall, the pressure is mounting on western states to try to figure out a deal over the future of water cuts and how the river's dwindling supply will be shared. But those discussions, those arguments have been going on for decades and decades. Let's bring in Jack Schmidt. He is the director of the Center for Colorado River Studies at Utah State University. Thank you so much for being with us. I mean, this is pretty alarming. Both lakes together, they haven't been this low since 1957. And that was before we had the population booms that we've seen today, right? Just how bad is the situation right now?
Well, it is unprecedented. Together, the two reservoirs haven't been, the collective amount of water in the two reservoirs hasn't been this low since 1957. That's the sum of the two. But if we look individually at each reservoir, Lake Powell has not been as low as it is now since June of 1967, when the reservoir was just filling in its first years after the Glen Canyon Dam was closed. In the case of Hoover Dam and Lake Mead hasn't been that low as an individual reservoir since the Great Depression in the late 1930s. So it truly is unprecedented.
And if we don't see relief soon, what happens in the long term?
Well, we're not going to see relief in relief in the near term. The Colorado River system's reservoirs are only refilled or water is added to them only during the period when the Rocky Mountain snowpack melts in the spring. So there will be no reprieve between now and April of next year. Between now and then, we only have the option of reducing consumptive use. There's no Hail Mary throw that's going to ever bring water back into the system. And we have great uncertainty as to what's going to happen in the coming winter. So between now and then, the only thing we can do is reduce use, and reductions in use are the proposals that the federal government is considering now.
This is happening as we head into what could be a historic El Nino year, right? And El Nino is a weird one because in some places it means crazy amounts of rain. In other places it means severe drought. What kind of impact could we see El Nino have on these two reservoirs?
Fair enough. Again, it's all about how much snow falls in the Rocky Mountains, far away from the reservoirs themselves. Now, there is a weak correlation of increased runoff and snowfall associated with an El Nino, but it's only a weak correlation. Some websites have suggested that Rocky Mountain snow will be heavy this year, but I think that reasonably speaking, we don't know. The Bureau of Reclamation's most probable prediction of the most probable hydrology and inflow to Lake Powell right now is only 75% of average. That would leave us in a very dire situation. The other thing that needs to be pointed out is that even if we get big snows, the basin's soils are extremely dry because it's been so hot this summer. So the prospects of getting bailed out by an El Nino year are uncertain at best.
Yeah, praying for the best, but again, just looking at those images, it does not look like the situation is going to get any less dire anytime soon. Jack Smith, really appreciate all your work on this. Thank you. And coming up in the future of everything, you already give away your data all the time, right? So what if you could actually get paid for it? One company is trying to give people the choice to do that, and we are talking to the CEO about how he says it could work. That's coming up. All right, 2 minutes. Rio Grande is dry. Antoinette says 0 water. Antoinette, you're in New Mexico, right?
They're hearing some popping on your mic.
Popping? Let me switch for this one and this one.
Position B, 90.
Oh, no. The Rio Grande used to run dry a lot in the summer when I was growing up, but I mean, it's always a sad moment. We used to go rafting down the Rio Grande all the time. Do you know if it's still flowing above Cochiti? I think the pollution on this planet is helping make climate change worse. Yeah, Albuquerque, Antoinette, I knew it. One side has too much water. Yeah. It's crazy that desalination also has not become much more of a sustainable technology. Oh, what does a typical day look like for us here? All right, so we wake up, read a bunch of the news, set the rundown. 1 minute standing?
Yeah.
Right here?
Yeah, right.
Set the rundown, then assign all the different stories, read more news, watch more news, read more news, then start putting together the news based on elements. That happens around 11:30 local time. Then we continue to read and watch, read and watch, read and watch. Then we start to get the files back from the correspondence and all the different feeds back, put together the packages. Then at 2:30, once again, we have like a virtual meeting. And then we work from 2:30 to 4 o'clock finalizing scripts. Then we've got a window for pre-tapes. Then 4:45, you guys come in. And then, boom, we're off to the races at 5 o'clock. That's what a typical day looks like. We'll put it on this one.
4, 3.
And tonight, in the future of everything, we're talking about your data. We give our data away all the time, right? The second that you click accept all cookies, or when you download a free app with all those pages of terms and conditions that you do not read. Well, in today's attention economy, our data, it is currency, whether we like it or not, and especially valuable for AI models that need data to train. So the question some people are asking, why not get paid for it? A year ago, we talked to a company and a founder. It was very, very interesting. He wanted to sell your data for a price instead of giving it away for free. And now that marketplace, it has gone public. It's called Verb. And here's how he says it works. You can add a tracker to your phone. It starts collecting anything you choose. If you wanted to watch your shopping habits, your social media use, you can switch any of those categories off. But the more you share, apparently the more you can charge. And here's the thing. You set your own price. Then any company can buy your data, and you can blacklist any companies you don't want to sell to. At least that is the sales pitch. Let's bring in the CEO of Verb, Cyrus Beschloss. Great to see you. In the age of AI, my big question, like all this stuff that I do on my phone, how much is it worth? How much are you talking? What could be the going rate of just being able to snoop around all you want on my phone a month?
Look, human beings, of which I consider myself one, from time to time, we generate a huge amount of data just by existing. It's your location data, your purchase data, your attention data. That's really valuable data. Like hundreds of billions of dollars is what people are spending, companies are spending right now to extract that data and to buy that data once you generate it just by existing. I don't know last time you checked, but the amount that human beings get for actually generating that data, which creates such tremendous value in terms of technology and financial services and products, it's zero. And at Verb, I mean, the whole goal is that we say to you, it's your data. You should decide who sees it, and if anybody's going to make money off of it, it should be you.
And so you are literally letting people put a number on what they think their data is worth? Where should people start? Like $100, $500, like $1,000? What's a good number?
That's the beauty, is that everybody gets to choose. Everybody gets to have that intellectual wrestling match in terms of what they think their data is worth. You know, somebody might set their price at $5 per company that wants to access their data. And again, this is like, ideally you have 100 companies that are buying your data, so it'd be 100 times whatever that price you set is. But let me just tell you something interesting, Gotti. Like, literally in the last 2 weeks, using the Verb data that we're able to collect from users, because we see basically everything they do once they download the tracker, we were also able to see which companies are tracking your data. And so I actually went ahead and took a look at my data. And these are the following companies that have extracted my data in the past 2 weeks. So you got the big guys, you got Google, you've got Meta, you got Amazon, Microsoft, Yahoo, okay. And then things get weird. Company called Criteo accessed my data. Magnite, Pubmatic, OpenX, Sovereign, Sharethrough, Triple Lift. Do you have another 30 minutes? Gum.
And I would love to hear the full list, but we do have a question coming in from our chat. Bell asks, why would they buy our data when they collect it now for free? All those companies that you're listing, yeah, like why would they sign up to buy your data if they're just scraping it for nothing?
So that's a great question. Right now, the status quo is that companies take our data and they sell that data. That data is tremendously valuable. They make a lot of money. They don't pay us anything, so we're giving it away for free. Why would they buy data on the Verb exchange? Because you're right. We can sign up, set our reserve price, make money from our data, but who's going to buy that? Well, guess what? The companies that try to spy on us and try to take our data for free, because they do it in the shadows, they do a pretty bad job of it. They're taking it in the terms and conditions. They're taking it, they're sort of trying to pickpocket you while you're walking into their house. Instead, it's a lot easier to get really good data and much better data on people if you ask them for it in the first place with permission.
Cyrus, okay, so I mean, this whole thing, it can be summed up, like when I go home and I explain this to my wife, I'm gonna be like, okay, so there's this guy, he wants to kind of be like an agent for your data, right? So he wants to help you, he wants to represent you and make sure that you're getting paid what you're due for your data. But the other question is, especially when it comes to agents, like, why should we trust you? Like, what should people be aware of when somebody like you comes into the room and says, hey, you got something that's valuable, let me help you sell it?
You shouldn't trust us. You should do your research and you should understand exactly what the status quo is. You should take a look at what companies are accessing your data, what they're doing with it, and then you should consider, is there something else that could be that I could be doing with it? I think the first step that we really want to emphasize that's really important for people is like, you should, it is your data, Gotti. It is your data. And right now, it's the wild, wild west, and there's so many parties out there that are just swiping it and getting rich off of it. Whether or not you choose to actually make money using your data on the exchange, or if you just don't want sort of a shady labyrinth of data brokers to be monetizing your existence as a human being, we just think that you should own your data. So short answer is, don't trust us. Take a look at what the landscape is. Take a look at what we're offering you, and we feel good about it.
Very, very interesting. Such a wild pitch, a very interesting sign of the times. If you start selling merch, start selling shirts that say, "It is my data. It's my data," let me know. I will definitely buy one of those. Cyrus, good to see you. Thank you so very much. And turning now to this new study that's talking about a link between what's happening in our gut and what's happening in our brain. It looks like there's this certain compound living in our digestive system that could be connected to Alzheimer's. That compound is called IMP. It can leak into the bloodstream, and from there, it can weaken the blood-brain barrier, which protects our brains from unwanted stuff getting in. So does this mean that what's in our gut can cause Alzheimer's? That's where it's a little bit tricky. Let's bring in the one, the only Dr. Akshay Syal to talk a little bit more about this study. Great to see you, Doc. Let's back up a second here. Alzheimer's, does it start in the stomach, or the stomachs of people with Alzheimer's, are they showing something different? Causation, correlation, once again, at the center of the question here. Which one happened first?
Yeah, so that's the big question, right? Is it correlation or is it causation, Gotti? And so, we've known for years that people with Alzheimer's disease have different makeups of their gut microbiome. So for people who don't know, the gut is made up of sort of different types of organisms that we call the gut microbiome. They're responsible for all sorts of things beyond our digestion. And what we've seen, Gotti, is that people with Alzheimer's disease tend to have a different makeup of that microbiome. Now, the question is, is that makeup or that difference in makeup causing the disease, or is it something that's simply an association, something that we simply observe? And what this study found, Gotti, after looking at about 1,000 people, was that people with higher levels of IMP, as you mentioned in the intro, it's a breakdown of gut gut bacteria, had worse cognitive scores. You can see on your screen there in the top right corner that graph where you sort of see the downslope in terms of cognitive scores and higher levels of that compound IMP. And Gotti, what's interesting is when they looked at mice themselves and they gave this compound, you saw differences in amyloid and tau levels. Those are the proteins affiliated with Alzheimer's disease. You saw more concerning levels given those higher levels of IMP.
Interesting. Could this be impacted by diet?
So IMP it can be affiliated with diet, Gotti. It's a sort of breakdown product of histidine, which is an amino acid, an essential amino acid in the body. But this doesn't mean that people should stop eating protein. It does not mean that people should stop eating amino acids and nutrients that we need for the rest of our body to survive. But what it does mean is that there could be a potential target down the line. So the analogy that they give is, if you think about cholesterol, a lot of people have high cholesterol. We can often prescribe a medication called a statin to lower that cholesterol. Statins actually affect how our body produces cholesterol, Gotti. And so really the thought is, if this biomarker pans out, is there a mechanism in which we give this treatment to reduce that IMP byproduct, potentially helping the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease?
It's so fascinating. And again, it's over 7 million people in the United States with Alzheimer's. What could this research unlock?
It's really about finding more treatment targets, Gotti. We don't have a lot of good treatments available for dementia, for Alzheimer's disease. These numbers are expected to balloon over the coming years, especially as our lifespan, as people are living longer. But what a lot of people don't know, especially my patients at the bedside, Gotti, as many as half of all cases of dementia could be delayed or slowed down. Doing things like watching your cholesterol, watching your blood sugar, getting up and moving, finding if you have any hearing loss, correcting it, vision loss, correcting it. I could go on and on about all sorts of things people can do today. So even this compound or this biomarker is years away from potentially becoming a treatment. There is so much you can do today to delay or reduce your risk. So if you have a family history, if you are concerned that you may be becoming more forgetful, please talk to your doctor. There's a lot you can do starting now.
Dr. Akshay Syal with a great reminder. Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Anytime.
And still to come, the world of humanoid robot games are back for a second year, testing robots' abilities to be the top humanoid athletes? Look at what to expect there. But first, you got to see this. 6 police cars and a helicopter were on part of an hour-long police chase involving a stolen dirt bike in L.A. last night. At one point, he tried to gas up at a station. I think we got this video, but he quickly took off. Part of the pump hose right there was still attached. Then it gets crazy. It looks like he's like holding a phone in his mouth, and he may have called somebody. Then he had them drop off some gas in a different place, a little park, so he could make a pit stop. He then ditched that bike, started running before trying to hide in a recycling bin, but no, they found him. They eventually arrested him, and he is facing several felony charges now. We'll be right back.
Claire, E-block on tape.
That's it? Hey, Lise, did you see Belle was just like in there and she's like, hey, I got a question.
I love that. I love that you guys did that.
What about this? What about this? And then I looked down and I was like, oh, that's a
more
great
live
question.
questions from the chat.
And then, boom. Chat has better questions.
Their questions are better
smart?
than your questions. Sorry.
Yeah, they are. Belle, like every day, you got to do this now.
Do it.
Do you have a signal or contact for a story lead for the future of everything? Yes. Yes, I do. Actually, find me on...
They're on it?
Send us your pitches.
Find me... Yeah,
we love pitches.
Find me on X.
I maybe shouldn't say that, but
I will send you my signal. I'll send you my signal on X. Deal? So Phoenix Blue. California people are crazy. No, yeah, we are. Let's see, but he could have injured people, and it's not cool. I saw this yesterday, SML. Man, how do you watch everything? I really enjoy your interviews with the doctor. Thomas, thank you so much. He's like my favorite doctor on planet Earth. Could you imagine? Him as your doctor, he's the nicest human ever. And one time we went on a mandate and we watched John Mayer and Matthew McConaughey jam out. It was pretty cool. He's awesome. Let's see. What else? Spaceship. It makes your... Spaceship, you are quite the poet. You are quite the poet on YouTube. Antoinette, I'm a medical assistant at what? In Albuquerque? Okay. I will injure myself at one point in Albuquerque, undoubtedly, and I'll come visit you. Whenever the show pops up over here, I'll let you guys go. But I love chatting all the way up until then. Spaceship. Phosphatidylchlorine protects your intestines from leakage by boosting cellular health in the intestines. Was that off the top of your head, or was that Claude? Tammy Darnell. Are you in the medical profession too, Tammy? It looks like you might be. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. Watch this, guys. Okay, bye. See ya.
On day one. Its latest model may explain why. A humanoid called Superman that can jump 6.5 feet and claims to sprint faster than world record holder Usain Bolt, although it crashed into a wall right after crossing the finish line. It's leaps and bounds ahead of where sporting humanoids were last year when we attended China's first ever robot games. This event is being billed as the first of its kind. Teams competing in soccer, track events, and tasks like moving luggage. There are hundreds of robot companies here in China making machines that can do backflips or run faster than people if that's what you want your robot to do. But a big focus here at the World Robot Conference in Beijing is on robots that can do tasks that are mundane or boring even by human standards. Daily grind jobs like folding laundry, picking up toys, or sorting packages in a warehouse. Practical work that humans might not mind giving up, or at least that's the way robot developers here see the future.
We don't want to replace person. We want people to have a better job, to have a better life.
The challenge here is turning eye-catching kicks and moves into actual productivity then scaling it commercially. Low-cost manufacturing here has allowed China's industry to pull ahead. Hefty government subsidies have helped out too. Robots are not without some glitches that come with real questions about safety. Remember when this one kicked a child? This year, there are no robots made in the United States, and none of what's on display here in China will be finding its way to the U.S. anytime soon. The Trump administration banning imports of new foreign-made quadruped and humanoid robots, citing national security and privacy concerns. A move that heavily targets China, which, according to consulting firm IDC, accounts for 82% of the world's humanoid shipments.
There are risks to the approach that the U.S. is taking, but I think their heart's in the right place. They want to build a supply chain, they want to reshore manufacturing, and most importantly, they are worried about national security risks.
After the recent ban, IDC estimates humanoid sales by U.S. companies could drop 58% by 2030 under a worst-case scenario. We reached out to the White House for comment and haven't heard back. FCC Chair Brendan Carr telling NBC News when the regulation was announced.
One of the upsides of these actions is not just national security, but it is helping to reindustrialize this country.
China's leadership has made robotics a national priority. As the U.S. moves to restrict technology, China is already putting the machines to work. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
Quite a glimpse of the future there. Janice Mackey-Freyer, thank you so much. And finally tonight, we are getting an inside look into preparations for Artemis 3. The mission is set to launch in 2027 still. That is a crucial step in NASA's plan to put humans back on the moon. And NBC's Ryan Nobles spoke to one of the astronauts in the crew.
Mission Specialist, Colonel Frank Rubio.
Since officially joining Artemis 3, NASA astronaut Frank Rubio and his fellow crew members have been thrust into high gear as they prepare for a critical mission, meeting up and docking with commercially built lunar landing systems.
Landing humans on the moon is still incredibly difficult. Each time we do one of these missions, we test another component of the overall concept.
During their 2-week mission, the Artemis 3 crew will soar in an Orion capsule, first to an altitude of about 900 miles above Earth's surface, before dropping to half that distance for the first test, and completing the second one around the same orbit level as the International Space Station.
How much was into that preparation to make sure you get it right when you're up there?
Thousands of people working, thousands of hours doing all those calculations. Honestly, it's not just us. Our main role is to be there, monitor, and if things go wrong, to be able to adapt and help still make the mission a success.
SpaceX and Blue Origin are the companies building the lunar landing systems. And while both have experienced setbacks this year, NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman says he's been in touch with their teams and does not expect to change the Artemis 3 timeline.
I'm extremely confident that we are going to be able to launch Artemis 3 next year.
With plans to return humans to the moon as early as 2028, NASA needs this next test to go well as it faces a new space race, this time with China, also aiming to land its astronauts on the lunar surface by 2030. Even for Rubio, who once spent more than a year in space, going into orbit remains a thrill.
It's always something that we dream of as kids, is to get on a rocket and go to space. And so to be able to do that as part of my job is fantastic.
He's joining Commander Randy Bresnik, pilot Luca Parmitano of Italy, and fellow mission specialist Andre Douglas, a backup for the last Artemis mission that took its crew around the moon.
We just went sci-fi.
And deeper into space than any other humans. Rubio, who has Salvadorian roots, says he hopes they can inspire a new generation.
What is your message to young Latinos that see you and see themselves in you?
I hope that they can see in me an example of the fact that with hard work, dedication, and all the people around, it has been an incredible honor to represent all of that.
Ryan Nobles, thanks. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now.